Hello. Hello, hello. Is this
Ooh.
on? Yes, yes. Good.
Hi, guys. Yes? Here?
Yeah.
You can hear us? Great.
I can hear you.
Yeah?
That's great. Look at all these people. This is awesome. Great to have you. What is this? This is Top Supplement Market Trends. Pardon me, I'm thirsty. I'm Bill Giebler. Let's see, there's probably a slide that supports what I'm about to say. Oh, here, before we get to us, there's some information you might need to know.
Oh, they can't hear you as well.
A little more on me.
Yeah.
Still more, possible.
Might be your microphone, I think. Oh, yeah. Flip it. Maybe that'll help. Without breaking it.
I am.
Oh, there we go. That's better, right?
I'm a public
Okay.
speaking professional. Stay calm. Everyone remain calm. All right, there's some information that I don't know much about, but I take a look at that. This session is streaming live on the YouTube channel, so you all can check it out there. Well, you don't need to. You're here. But if you want to look back on it or get anything, and I love seeing you take pictures of our slides, so keep doing that. But you don't need to because you can access all of this later on. So I'm Bill Giebler, Content and Insights Director with Nutrition Business Journal, and super happy to be here with my colleague, Erica Kraft, our industry analyst here at NBJ. So let's get right into it. Let's talk about the trends that we're seeing. When we talk trends, we really do it from a data perspective. That's what we do at NBJ. We do the data for about 26 years. We've been doing the market sizing data for the dietary supplements industry. And just very quickly, I say this every time I present, but we do the what, the where, and the why of the dietary supplement industry. What is the ingredients? Now, what ingredients are selling? We do that across hundreds of ingredients. Where is it selling? Channels? Is it in the natural and specialty channel? Is it e-commerce? Is it mass market? Is it through practitioners? And why? Are people buying it for bone and joint health or for immune health or whatnot? So we do that across 22 conditions, and we've been doing that for a long time. So let's look at the overall industry here. Supplement growth. So we're talking supplements here. Supplement growth in 2020. You all might remember 2020. A lot was going on. People were buying a lot of supplements. Started with immune health, but a lot in general health, and then mood and sleep and all these other things. That's the biggest, that yellow spike there. So that yellow line is our growth line. It aligns with the percentages on the right-hand side. That spiked up to 14.5% growth in 2020. That's the biggest growth we have ever tracked at NBJ in 26 years. And then followed by 2021, a good strong year, 7-something growth in 2021, and then boom, 2022, 1.9% growth. That's not even inflation, and we're tracking dollars, not units. So when we say 1.9% growth, we probably mean negative growth. When it's adjusted for inflation, we're seeing negative growth in 2022. Guess what? That's the lowest growth we've ever tracked at NBJ. So we went from the highest growth ever to the lowest growth ever. Those bars show you the dollars aligning with the left hand there. So where it says 50, we're talking 50 billion. Where it says 60, that's 60 billion. But the gray bars, the only difference between the green bars and the gray bars is that's what's happened, and gray is what we think is going to happen. So let's look at the industry compared to, so what did that impact of COVID, that big spike of COVID, and now this recessionary behavior that's really pulled sales back? Oh no, the industry's tanking. What's going on here? And overall, we're still seeing a lift from COVID. We were predicting about twice that lift, maybe last year on this stage, saying, oh look, a $3 billion lift from COVID. And then the economy got more challenging. Actually, probably even longer ago than last year. I think by this time last year, we had already pulled that back. But we're still thinking that in 2023, there's a 1.5 billion more activity in the industry than what we thought was going to happen when we looked forward back in 2019. So all of that lift from COVID hits that recessionary behavior of the last year, and it still comes out positive for this industry.
All right, now we're going to get into some of the surprises that we saw in the market. So what we're going to start off here with is a channel overview. So e-commerce growth dipped to about 5.7% in 2022. And while most of you might be like, well, 5% isn't that bad, right? But the surprise here is in 2020 where we see growth go to 90%. And the surprise was how quickly that growth dropped off into 2022. We would have normally expected that to be a little prolonged into maybe 2023, 2024, but it did happen rather quickly. But it's still not all bad. It's still going to be hovering around the 5 to 6% range into 2026 that we predict, and still will be above industry average, as we can see on the right. And another surprise was the decline in herbs and botanicals. So in 2022, we saw a negative 1.9 decrease in growth. And unfortunately, we weren't expecting that big of a decrease. It was a little bit surprising to us, but it's not all bad. We still see a little bit of an increase from the COVID boost, but and growth will remain strong into the future, hopefully. So the runway for sports and weight management. So what was interesting here, and it's not really a surprise that the category is doing so well, right? You look at the show floor, you look at all of the products that are in the market, there's a lot happening in that category. It's very hot, very trending. But the surprising thing to me is when you put numbers to it, right? When you really define it, it's that 28 billion to be added into the market from 2022 to 2026. I find that number to be very crazy to think about, but will be definitely very interesting to see where it goes in the future.
It is a crazy number. The entire supplement industry we're saying is about a $62 billion industry this year.
In 2022.
Yeah, okay, in 2022.
Yeah, was 61 billion.
However, now that I've thrown that comparison, this is sort of a Venn diagram. We're not talking, the sports nutrition and weight management is categorically different than just supplements, right? So this isn't.
That includes beverages, bars, sports nutrition, supplements, et cetera. So
it's not 28 of the 60-some billion, but it's still. I like to throw that in there. That's like, wow, this adding in the next few years an equivalent that's half of the, or an amount that's equivalent to half of the entire dietary supplement space. Yeah. So. Let's look at some bright spots and opportunities that we're tracking at NBJ. Mass market is really kind of the big surprise. I don't know if it's such a big surprise. We've seen, this is an industry that found its home originally in the natural and specialty channel, natural being the natural retailers, specialty being the vitamin shops, the independent vitamin shops, but also GNC, the vitamin shop, that sort of thing. And more we're seeing it move over to mass and into e-commerce. So natural is no longer the biggest channel for dietary supplements. Mass market is moving into that space, and it's tremendous growth in mass market in 2020 and 2021, and we're still seeing strong growth. And it's funny because we're seeing growth go up to 5.7 against an overall industry that's growing around 4%, I think, over the next few years. 5.7% here in mass market is quite a bit. It came up to 5.7 while e-commerce came down to 5.7, but I think it's a really interesting move. And one of the things this points to is just bringing what's the word I'm looking for? It's no longer a niche product. More and more people, it's infusing into society on a broader spectrum. And I think a lot of that can be seen in the move into mass market. Another channel that's been interesting to watch is practitioner. In fact, I'm going to be on this stage in a couple hours at 3:45 with Eric Goldman from Holistic Primary Care, and we're going to go over some research that we just conducted together of the practitioner channel, extensive research of practitioners that sell supplements or at least recommend supplements. So that's the growingest category we're tracking at NBJ. It's not the biggest, so if you look at dollars, it's working its way up to 10% of the entire supplement market by 2026, and it's growing faster than any channel right now. So the practitioner channel is one to watch for sure.
And onto ingredients. So we have to mention mushrooms. It is the big topic right now. Everybody loves talking about it. I like talking about it too. But so what we want to start off with, we again see that big growth spurt in 2020. But I also want to take note of the dollar sign there. So right, that market in 2020 was about 100 million or so. And in 2026, it's estimated to be about 240 million. And so what's interesting here is going to see the length of where that growth goes into 2026, how these products are innovating, where these brands are going with it, what types of conditions that they're targeting these mushrooms to. So I'm really interested to see where that goes. But in 2020, we saw growth at about 15% and still will be very strong in double digits into 2026. And I like to supplement these with consumer survey data points. So in a survey a couple months ago, we asked consumers, what are the top reasons and conditions that you're using mushroom supplements for? And about 80% said general health, followed by the 60% who said immune health, and then 54% of mood, stress, mental health, followed by brain health. And what I think is interesting is going to maybe ask this question next year and see where that goes, right? So we see right now it's immune health, but if I had to guess, I really think that brain health will come up a bit more, as well as the mood and stress. Another one, I thought this was interesting in terms of delivery format, how people are taking their mushrooms. Is it in food? Is it in dietary supplements, in capsule form? So as we see here, most consumers are doing it in protein shakes, smoothies, adding it to their coffee, lots of fun ways to add in mushrooms. And then right there at 40% was I take them in capsules as dietary supplements. And this is what we like to call at MBJ market manifestations. So these are products that we feel are making a lot of movement in the space or really help define this category. So for Sigmatic, I really like this brand. It's a really great powder, and we exemplify them for their organic mushroom blends, Plant People, Wonder Focus gummies, really using that energy and cognitive, and it's a gummy. Everyone loves those right now. And then Stamets 7, it's a staple, but I like that they use 7 different mushroom species. And then First Person, really making a lot of movement in this space. So really using that, complementing the psilocybin microdosing, which a lot of people are talking about right now too. So
we're talking about it as psychedelic adjacent. And it seems like all the interest in psychedelic mushrooms that's happening across the country is quite likely driving interest in these functional mushrooms in our categories too. That's conjecture, but it's quite possible. What's the other big ingredient? What's the ingredient everyone's talking about? This has been for a couple of years now, but ashwagandha is not going anywhere, not going away. It is going anywhere. It's going up and up and up. Ashwagandha, big growth, continuing, dropping as low as 7% against an industry that's growing at 4%. I think in that same time frame in 2026. But right now it's hovering around 12, 13, 14% growth, and it's just a really strong market. So double digit, at least through this year. We have it dropping down to single digits next year, but we'll see what actually happens. We did a consumer survey on this as well, and it's interesting to see, let's see, I added this up before. We've got, so I'm not going to do the math right now, but 31% of consumers have never heard of ashwagandha. I mean, that's shocking in this room, right? But it's not shocking out there in the broader world. I've heard of it, but don't know anything about it, is 29%. That is market opportunity right there. Those 29% are the people that it's an opportunity to reach those folks. And the other 21% that are somewhat familiar. Only 14% of the respondents to this survey are using it regularly. So there's a lot of runway for ashwagandha. And then very familiar with it, but don't use it, those 5%. We don't need them anyway. So ashwagandha products, we're seeing it all over the place. I think these Calm gummies from Hum, these products, when we pull these together, we feel like they're exemplary of what's happening. They're not necessarily endorsements of these products, but I think these are good products. The perimenopause support with ashwagandha, and then that Tribe Organics one is interesting. Much like Supply Side, with KSM66 all over its branding. We've got a branded ingredient named on the front of pack. I think that's, aside from ashwagandha, I just think that's an interesting trend opportunity. More and more interest in branded ingredients. It's a big opportunity for formulators, for marketers then to talk about those branded ingredients. I think it's why the practitioner channel is doing so well. We're at a point in the development of the category, of the industry, where consumers are looking for differentiation between products, and branded ingredients is a great way to do it. Put it on front of pack, that's great. And if consumers don't know what that means, it hardly hurts to see it anyway. Nariva, relax and sleep. I've also seen ashwagandha in energy products, and I think that's a really interesting thing too. That point where, sometimes when we're anxious, anxiety can drag our energy down, right? So if we can calm, we can find energy through calm. So I think there's just so much opportunity for ashwagandha. So there's that.
Right, and on to conditions. So this chart, we asked consumers, what are the top health concerns that you're most actively managing or trying to improve? We see, of course, most of the time at that top of the list is going to be general health, but we see stress management followed by energy, weight management, sleep, mood, emotional health, and if you actually combine stress management and mood, that would be about 32% of consumers, so that would definitely go to the top of the list. But we like to set this one up just to kind of show everyone what consumers are interested in right now. And then here, this is two different charts. We're doing two different things here. So on the left is going to be market share of top conditions. And what this is taking supplement sales in 2022 and taking it by a condition perspective. So the biggest chunk of that pie is going to be sports, energy, weight management, followed by cold, flu, immunity, general health, gut health, etc. And then on the right it's an interesting way to look at it, but it's the highest growing conditions in 2022. So at the top, we have brain cognitive health at 7.2%, followed by children's at 6.9%, sports in third, and then menopause down there at 4.8%. And then looking into 2023, we're actually going to see potentially what we're predicting, sports and weight management to be flipped with sexual health. So lots happening in that market as well. So we'll see what happens.
So mood and mental health, another condition that's been so big since COVID. We have, getting a little feedback, so I keep moving around a little bit. We have growth dropping to negative growth last year, and then back to positive growth this year. But still, that's on a very heightened condition category. Lots of movement in mood and mental health. I feel like people are still talking about that a lot. I think a lot came in, again, the mushrooms and the ashwagandha. It's no coincidence that we're talking about this as a condition that's growing, and those are as ingredients that are moving a lot. So I think we're going to see a lot of activity here, even as the growth pulls back since COVID. I think there's still a lot to happen here in mood and mental health. A couple product examples there. This life extension is interesting, mood improve. It's got probiotics and again, branded ingredients with Fluorosys to balance mood through gut health. Gut health we're not talking about today, but it's an important one too. And people are getting the connection between gut health and brain health and mood and mental health. The gut axes are going to be around for a while, and I think they're going to be growth. And I think the opportunity there isn't just probiotics. I think it's just gut health in general. How can we maintain a healthy gut, and how does that impact the other systems in the body? Saffron, I just keep hearing more and more about saffron. There's branded ingredients, but there's also, just seeing, I don't know if this is a branded ingredient in the Ollie product, but saffron and vitamin D, combining saffron and ashwagandha for sleep. There's just a lot of opportunity in mood and mental health. Ayurvedic herbs being a really great way to introduce people, or back and forth, Ayurveda for mood and mental health for Ayurveda, to introduce people to the concept of Ayurveda. Turmeric is one of the top botanicals, and I'm not saying that for mood and mental health, but it's interesting to see as I talk about Ayurveda, two of the top botanicals are Ayurvedic herbs, and then the number one botanical, despite very low, high negative growth is hemp CBD. The thing that was taking over the entire industry a couple years ago is now shrinking away. But it's easy to see that as like, oh, it's over, it went away, but it's still the #1 botanical until next year, and when it flip-flops with ashwagandha.
All right, and on to women's health. So as we can see here on the left, we have women's health supplements. So this is women's general health. On the left is sales and growth. So we saw quite a big bump in 2020, and it went down a little bit to 0 to 2% growth, but that doesn't mean that the category is not growing. It's just such a big category. And then on the right, we have menopause, sales and growth. And what's interesting is like the flip-flop of growth lines there. So we saw it really take a dip in 2020, and now it's expected to go and hover around that 5% into 2026, but lots being talked about in that market, lots of products coming out, and I love the re-education around it, and I love how it's being talked about. So I'm really excited to see where that goes. And then we're actually publishing a women's health report next month, which we're very excited about.
First ever.
First ever women's health report, about time. But in this chart, what we're showing is a survey that we asked for that report. And it was, what are the top health concerns that you're focusing on right now? Only women, we asked. So general health and wellness, again, we're gonna see that come to the top, but mood, mental health, and stress management. So 50% of the consumers that we surveyed said that they're managing this condition, followed by weight management and beauty from within. And I really like the beauty from within portion of this, because I see collagen around everywhere. A lot of people I know, both my age and older, talk about collagen, so it's very much still an important topic and something that women are focusing on. And another market manifestations for women's health, so we see multivitamins is gonna be up there. I love putting Mary Ruth's on here because they have great liposomals, great liquids, and they really target those different women's, men's, children's categories. And then the Renew Life Women's Care Gummy, that probiotic gummy, it's a fun format and to help with gut health. And then the Flow sugar-free capsules to help with PMS. Love that they're sugar-free. They have really nice branding as well. And then the Aquel menopause symptom relief as well.
All right, that's basically it. So just sort of recapping that, we're looking at a harsh normalization that brought growth to a halt in 2020. Highest growth ever in 2020, lowest growth ever in 2022, arguably negative growth, even though it's a positive number. It's sub-inflation. Supplements going mainstream, that's the word I think I was struggling to find, just simply mainstream. Supplements have gone mainstream. People across strata are using supplements, and I think that's the growth that we're seeing in e-commerce, but especially in mass market. And especially as some research we've done during the last year, as the economy has struggled a bit, people are not trading out of supplements, they're trading down into value brands and store brands. So that's one of the other things we're seeing there. Modern conditions are proving new opportunities, some of the conditions we talked about today. And bottom line is the industry is still healthy. We're seeing the lowest growth we've ever seen, and it's still a healthy industry. So these are some of the reports we talked about today. There's that women's health report that Erica talked about. A lot of what we pulled came from the supplement business report, the condition-specific report. This is what we do at NBJ, and today and tomorrow we're doing it in booth 7076, right over there. So come talk to us if you have any questions. If you have any questions right now, I think we have some time, and we have a microphone back here. So I'll move on to our contact information if you want that, and raise your hand if you have any questions.
Make our lives easy.
Looks like we nailed it.
I know.
We just,
oh my gosh.
No questions.
Brave soul.
What about trends with fish oil? I know it was big for a while, and is that sort of still going strong?
So it's interesting from an ingredient perspective, fish oil. It's hard to use the word strong, right? Like, do you consider strong to be like double-digit growth, or are you thinking it's like positive growth? So in terms of growth, it is positive. I don't have the number off the top of my head, but in terms of brain health, that ingredient is still doing really well, still really popular, but I don't
have any other.
Yeah, I think for brain health, it's still doing pretty well, so.
A couple questions over here.
Hi, what do you see as the new and better delivery systems coming on down the line?
Coming on, you know,
Or here, or...
yeah, I think gummies have a good runway ahead of them. We surveyed that a little bit too. At NBJ Summit, we had a few hundred executives in the audience, and we did an informal audience poll, and no one thought gummies were going to decline anytime soon. And we hear that in the conversations we have as well. I thought by now gummies would have maxed out, and a lot of people think that they're continuing to grow. And I think people are interested in gummies because it resembles a food. You know, consumers like to consume food, and gummy is the closest thing we have to that. So I think gummies, I love the dissolvable strips, but I don't see that really taking off in a big way. Liquids, powders, yeah, I think it remains gummies for a little while.
I'll just add one quick thing. I think the interesting part there is, in terms of gummies, it's about what audience you're talking about, right? It's like when you have newer consumers entering the market, people who don't take 6 different dietary supplement brands a day, I think those are really the people that are going to stick with those gummies. But for people who take, like myself, I take 12 pills a day, and so I don't take gummies because you're going to have to take a lot, and then you're already taking more. So I think it just depends on who you're talking about.
Sort of the gateway format in it also.
Thanks. John Lionville Ventures. Quick question. You guys talk about the harsh normalization and the fact that consumers are trading down. Do you see any need states where consumers are more hesitant or less likely to trade down in, and what are those need states?
Do you know from a condition standpoint?
So you're saying like which things are they trading down first, or?
Condition.
Okay. Yeah, we didn't ask that question specifically, but that's really interesting because we do tend to do these surveys just to kind of get a pulse on what people are doing. So that's a really interesting one to ask. But in terms of conditions or ingredients or types of supplements, we didn't ask that. But if I'm
going to answer a different question, which is, I think one of the interesting things is where we're seeing the biggest growth in mass market, which is evidence, we think, of that trading down, and in practitioner, which is really evidence of trading up. I think the answer to that question could be in what need states are people going to practitioners for. And perhaps the more grave the condition, the less likely they are to trade down. But for general health, and maybe even immune health and some of these other things, they're probably very happy trading down to a value brand. Just conjecture at that point.
yeah.
What's the growth in vegan versus non-vegan?
We don't have...
For supplements or like protein powders, anything all over. It's interesting, I was looking at this earlier this morning because I did a presentation on sports powder. So in terms of like all supplements, I don't have that specific data point, but I did see that animal was actually growing a bit more than plant-based in terms of protein powders. So, but that's not to say that people aren't still looking for vegan, of course. But there's also a lot of growth in animal combined with plant-based. Now, I can't think of products off the top of my head of what that specifically would be, but maybe that's more dairy-free and then having an animal protein in there. But
yeah, and I haven't seen a lot of growth in vegan. There's a couple of interesting brands that are really doing it well, but it's not.
We have this gentleman.
Oh,
And then
okay, great. We've got a minute. Let's keep it quick.
I'll try to be quick. I apologize if you said this because I was a little bit late. I didn't notice the customer need around longevity or health span. Is that something you think is too small a group still? Is it growing? Where does that fall in the spectrum of customer needs based on your work?
you can definitely
Yeah,
answer that
I
question.
was presenting that yesterday morning. It's a small health span what we call healthy aging still is a small category. It's a $679 million category, very small. But when you ask consumers what they think about when they're looking for healthy aging, they're not thinking about healthy aging. They're thinking about cognitive, number one. They're thinking about bone and joint. They're thinking about weight management. I think I think the focus from a marketing standpoint needs to be on those sub-conditions rather than healthy aging itself. I don't know if that answers your question.
We have one final question.
One final question. 16 seconds.
All right. How about what are the statistics about bone health? When you were at your seminar, did that come up?
Bone health is fairly high in our healthy aging
In
survey.
healthy aging, yes, it's consumers are, when it comes to thinking about healthy aging, yes, bone health was higher up on that list, but in terms of supplements overall, it's around flat to negative 1% growth into the future. So.
Okay. Thank you all so much. Great to see so many faces in here. Have a
Yeah.
great
Thank you guys.
supply side. Thank you.